We in the cockpit and everyone in the flight crew would like to thank you for choosing Delta this sunny Thanksgiving Day. Local temperature in the Jacksonville airport is 63 degrees, and the local time here in Jacksonville is 1978. Scattered laughs broke out inside the cabin. I smiled, barely, and scanned my aisle for eye contact, hoping to catch someone else who found it funny that Jacksonville seemed frozen in time. We locked eyes, exchanged that familiar nod. Thank God we're just visiting. Outside the window, tall, thin pines lay like a carpet stretched to the horizon. I leaned toward the glass, searching for the muddy St. Johns River, hoping to see where it met the Atlantic. There was nothing but pine, a forest of vertical lines, reaching upward, but never out. By 37, did you think you figured out your parents? That you cracked the code? Found some emotional workarounds to keep the damage contained during a holiday visit? By 2007, I had my formula dialed in. 2 bourbons neat, 5 milligrams of Xanax, 20 milligrams of oxycodone, sealed in a bottle labeled "break in case of emergency." My strategy was always the same. Rent my own car, stay in a hotel, handle everything myself. The extra cost was always worth it. Cheaper than therapy, cheaper than coordinating pickups with a 68-year-old man or sleeping under sheets stiff enough to polish granite. But this time, I forgot to remember what I knew. I let my dad pick me up. I let him handle dinner. I thought I had aged out of all of this. But somewhere beneath the bourbon, the meds, the practiced attachment, the boy came with me. Still hoping, still flying towards something more than survival. He picked me up in his never-washed car, the interior dusted and would look less like dirt and more like dandruff. "Has this car ever been cleaned?" I asked. He ignored me. "So, I'm starving. What's the plan for dinner?" He shifted in his seat like a man who'd been hoping I wouldn't ask. "Well," he said, "I figured we'd just have a sandwich or something. I got cold cuts. I didn't think you'd want dinner after flying." I stared at him. "So let me get this straight. I take my first vacation day in 6 months, get up before dawn, fly across the country on Thanksgiving, and what you thought I wanted on the other end was to skip dinner and have a bologna fucking sandwich." I was so hurt, my eyes pulsed. There he was again, the 9-year-old, still hoping, still invisible. I fantasized about punching him in the face as hard as I could, being asked yet again to pretend this was reasonable. That was the real hubris, thinking I could set the bar low enough to escape a holiday without reopening the wound. Yet he limboed under it with ease and handed me a shit sandwich on Turkey Day. Thanks, that was my dinner. "Well, nothing's open on Thanksgiving," he said. Flat, practiced, like it was a law of nature. Not a choice. "How many places did you call?" I asked. Silence. "What about the Inn of Ponte Vedra or the Capitol Grill? The places I took you over the last 2 years on Thanksgiving." He kept his eyes on the road. That was his move. Outlast me by not being there. I reached for my compassion mantra, the one I always used with him. He's broken. If he could do better, he would. But 9-year-old me didn't want a mantra. The 9-year-old wanted a plate, a plan, a turkey dinner. I thought maybe we could go to Outback tomorrow night, he said. I always have a good time when we go there. I blinked hard. He switched topics, mentioned his computer wasn't working right. "I'm on it," I said. "I love being senior tech support." I said it flatly, the way you tap a bruise to remind yourself it still hurts. I started patting my pockets, my jeans, my jacket, my shirt. Where the fuck is that bottle of Oxy? At the condo, the blinds were pulled. The room was dark, lit only by TV and cigarettes. We ate sandwiches, white bread, cold cuts. I cleaned up afterwards. Paper plates, napkins, counter, habit. He pointed proudly at the candy ball on the coffee table. Have you ever tried dark chocolate? He said it like a revelation. This again? I said under my breath. Yeah, Dad. I said out loud, it's the best. He talked right over me. It's the best, he repeated. On TV, another Buffy the Vampire Slayer rerun. A show made for tweens, his favorite. He watched Buffy intently. I watched the screen behind my eyes. I was 12 again, sitting in the kitchen with my mom, telling me the reason she divorced my father. She told me about the therapy, about the counselor, about how my dad described the things that made it hard for him to show up, to make an effort. The therapist recommended antidepressants. He refused. From that moment on, our family story was set. He chose not to get better. He chose not to try. He chose not to love her. He chose. I blinked back into the room. Dad, what's your favorite episode? The one where the whole thing's a musical? He looked right at me. His eyes lit up. He smiled and asked, have you ever seen the one where the whole thing's a musical? Outback Steakhouse. That was our tradition. Father and son sharing a booth with fake boomerangs, fake Australian beer, and real American egg. The ritual was this. I took him out. He ordered gin and tonics with a double squeeze of lime by calling them G&Ts. Like it was a currency that carried weight. Who knows? Maybe it did in 1964. But in his prime, he had that currency. Jet black hair, widow's peak, ice blue eyes, movie star handsome. Even in his late 60s, women would notice him before he spoke. And then he'd speak, and it would vanish. He'd like a Bombay Sapphire and tonic with 2 limes, I'd say. Waitress would smile, grateful for the translation. You really do have a way with the ladies, don't you? I didn't. They were just relieved I spoke human. I want fried onions, he demanded like a toddler. I put my face on my hands, split my fingers to reveal my eyes. Miss, I think that's code for he wants a bloomin' onion. After the second drink, the stories came, little shards of history. My grandfather was an orphan. The times my father's father would disappear. No one knew if he was dead or just gone. His first date with my mother at Polcari's. The stories didn't come out clean. They surfaced like bubbles breaking through mud. And I listened. Because underneath the weirdness and the repetition and the faux cool orders, I could feel it. He wanted to be known. He just didn't know how. So I gave him a path. Remember when you coached the Twins, Dad? You were the best coach in the league. We pounded on teams with a bunch of misfits. He jumped in. That game against the Indians, he said, when I moved you from second base to center field, everyone thought I was crazy. You were, I chuckled. But you made that throw, he remembered. Nobody thought you had that arm, he said, but I knew. And somewhere beneath the steakhouse noise and the fluorescent nostalgia, I felt myself offer something back. Not words, just presence. Like maybe if I held the mirror steady, we'd both stay visible a little longer. He reached for the bill. I insisted he let me have it. I helped him feel whole, and he gave me one clean memory. His computer was broken again. The familiar sequel to the TV VCR button nightmare, only worse. He said it kept crashing. I assumed the culprit was some clickbait pop-up with a virus he couldn't resist, annoying but survivable. I opened the browser history to see when it started. His outdated browser still showed thumbnails, little pictures of his most visited sites. Clippy kept popping up, trying to help. I wanted to smack the smile right off that paperclip's face. And then I saw it. The top 10. I stared long enough to be sure. My arms went numb. Without a word, factory reset. It was either that or immolate. I thought about saying something, naming it. I didn't. Frozen at the desk, I blurted, I need to get out of here for a while. He looked confused. Then his face went white. He didn't argue. I checked into a beachside hotel. I drank the minibar dry. I walked to the water, took off my shirt and sat in the shallows until the sun went down. The thumbnails weren't just porn, they were worse. Too young, too familial. I waded deeper into the water with my arms open, like maybe it could wash the whole thing off me. I felt it then. The boy in those images wasn't a stranger. He was him, broken, stuck, haunted. Insights came like a shiver and then stayed like a fog. Slowly, the pieces began to line up, not just from that week, but from my life, like hidden threads snapping tight. I thought of being 5 years old, walking with him through Kmart. I'd reach for his hand, wanting to feel held. And he'd be holding a cigarette tucked into his fingers where I couldn't see it. I'd grab on and flinch as it burned me. Every time I forgot, I reached out again and again. I went to shore. My disgust turned to rage, my rage to grief. But underneath it all, I felt his longing. Not a lust for the images themselves, but for a love he never felt, a protection he never received, and for trusts forever broken. All night I remembered more stories. The orphaned grandfather, the abusive uncle, the mother he never forgave for taking his father back. Again, I heard the echo. He chose. If he really loved me, he would have made different choices. No, I thought. It was now clear. He was that little boy, just like the one in the images, the object, alone, abused, confused. And suddenly I understood so much. The silences, the candy bowl, the reruns, the way he vanished inside himself without ever leaving the room. All of it. His whole life and so much of mine made a terrible kind of sense. The camera pulled back, the pieces locked into place. My father sat beside me. Both of us ghosts, trapped in the same haunted story, just trying to get free. He had always been that boy, and so had I. The next morning, I took him to breakfast at TPC Sawgrass. We sat on the veranda not far from the famous Island Green, and I sat doing the quiet math. Whether to name it or to pretend, I didn't know yet. But the universe gave us something, a coincidence too pointed to ignore. Over my shoulder, a TV showed a politician in Europe caught with child pornography. My dad watched for a second. What are they going to do to him? I didn't look up. I said, nothing good. If anyone finds that stuff on your machine, you're done for. I said it like the weather. Something in him blinked. And for those few minutes, we were in it together, held in a silence so fragile, it could have shattered with a clink of silverware. Just two people sitting with something unspeakable and choosing not to look away. I took the window seat. From altitude, it looked peaceful, but I knew better. Far below, I could see a river that carried dirt made of memories and ghosts for generations. I left my father in Jacksonville with no drama or tears. And I saw him now, not just the man, but the boy. It didn't erase the damage, but it changed it. Below was a forest that never reached out, but a river that did, yet not for forgiveness. The grief moved through me, and I didn't fight it this time. Like the St. John's, I let the current take me, where the brown mud lets go of the water and empties into the light blue Atlantic. I rose into the sky. I could finally see the way the river finds the sea, slow, unresisted, cleansed. It ends with me. I was off to Graceland. Thank you.